I waited a long time to take this mask off. Finally, we're beginning to see some light as far as this virus, brethren. But it's been 14 long months since I've been here, my wife and I. It's been a long, long time, and it's been pretty rough on us, honestly. But it sure is nice to be back here with you on the Sabbath day. Doesn't seem like very many things have changed. People are still very happy, very friendly here, which is very, very nice. And we're just very, very happy to be back here with you. After all the events that are described in the book of Revelation, after all those events are over, the last two chapters of the book of Revelation present a vision of unparalleled beauty, of peace, of calmness, really that's beyond our comprehension. And because God promises here in these last two chapters that He will wipe away all tears, and that He will dwell with His children. So when is this happening? What is the time frame here that I'm talking about? Well, it happens after the 1,000-year reign of Jesus the Christ on this earth. It even happens after the great white throne judgment, and it even happens after the first heaven and the first earth have passed away. So that's the time frame that I'm talking about. I want to key in here on certain scriptures like Isaiah 55. If you wouldn't mind, let's all go there. The book of Isaiah, chapter 65, tells us something very important. Isaiah 65, verse 17. For behold, God says, I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered or come to mind. So that's the time frame that we're talking about here, that God is going to create a new heaven and a new earth. Join me in Revelation 21 now, if you would, and in chapter 1, because John sees a tremendous event here that's taking place in a vision that he is given by God. Revelation 21 and in verse 1. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth have passed away, and there was no more sea. So this new heaven and the new earth is going to come down from the third heaven. It will never grow old. It will never decay. But there's something else that God is going to create when this new earth and new heaven are created. Do you know what it is? Does anybody know what? Take a guess on what this thing is, that something new that God is also going to create? It's the New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem. That's what I want to key in on today, and I wanted to give you that background information. The New Jerusalem. And I titled this message, The New Jerusalem, an amazing city. Let's go to verse 2 now. In Revelation, you're already in Revelation 21, but verse 2. I get so excited when I read these scriptures. It gives me so much encouragement. And then it says here, then I, John, saw the holy city, this New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Of course, the husband is Jesus the Christ here. And God has been preparing this New Jerusalem for a long, long time. And Jerusalem is going to be inhabited by all, those in the first resurrection, those in the great white throne judgment, all the overcomers. Keep your finger there in Revelation 21 But let's go back to Revelation 3, and I want to show you this. Revelation 3, and then in verse 12, if you would. And it says here, he who overcomes. See, it's all the overcomers. And this, like I said, it's after the 1,000 years, after the great white throne, after the new, after the old things have passed away. He who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out no more. I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from God, and I will write my name. I will write on him my new name. How encouraging is this? This is totally unbelievable here. Revelation 3, verse 3 there, you're in 21. Revelation 21, verse 3, back there for a moment. And I heard a loud voice from heaven. This is an angel speaking here, saying, Behold, the tabernacle. You know, somebody mentioned the Feast of Tabernacles. I think it was Mr. Bolorowski. It's going to just around the corner. Tabernacle means a dwelling. God's tabernacle, his dwelling place, is with men. That's the time frame. And we will dwell, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. And notice verse 4. And God will wipe away every tear. How many people are crying today? Maybe there's some people that are crying on the inside instead of the outside. Many people. Wipe away every tear from their eyes, and they shall be no more death, lost of a loved one. No more sorrow. So many people are hurting today. Look around all over and you find that. Crying. There shall be no more pain. You ever have joint pains? I think everybody's had some type of joint pain or broken ankle or something along the line. The former things have passed away. See, all of that, the pain, the suffering, the death, have gone. They're out of the picture. And this is what we're talking about. But here's the key that I want to key in on. Why is the New Jerusalem an amazing city, brethren? I don't know if you ever thought about that. Sometimes I think about deep things. And I think it's good. It's called meditation. Why is this New Jerusalem an amazing city? And that's what we're going to be talking about. A few facts that I want to bring to your attention. Number one is this New Jerusalem will be made out of pure gold. Is it amazing? Pure gold. And it says here, there will be no more need for light. Verse 11. You're in 21, verse 11 here. Having the glory of God, her light, this is Jerusalem's light, was like a most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. Drop down to verse 23. I tell you, if this doesn't get anybody excited, I really don't know what else will. Verse 23, the city has no need for the sun or of the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God illuminated it. And it says here, the Lamb is its light. We know who the Lamb is. Verse 18, let's drop down there. Or go up there, I should say. And the city was, what? Pure gold, like clear glass. How beautiful will this city be when it comes down from heaven, created by God? Fact number 2. The New Jerusalem will have a wall. We've all heard of walls. And 12 gates, it says here. But these aren't just ordinary gates or an ordinary wall. Verse 17, still in Revelation 21. And then the angel here, measured its wall, 144 cubits. Kind of reminds me of the 144,000. But this is 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of an angel. And the construction of its wall, Jerusalem's wall, was of jasper. And we already read the city of gold. And I did a little math on here. You know, a cubit is about 18 some inches. So this wall is going to be 216 feet in height. Putting it in our terminology here. In verse 14. Now the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on there were the 12 names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. We have to remember here that Christ, when he was on this earth, told his apostles that they would each sit on a throne. You can look that up for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Luke 22, verse 28 through 30. Each one was going to sit on a throne. 12 foundations. I mentioned gates. Let's go to gates here in verse 12. And she, this is the new Jerusalem, is now being called a she. It's been personified. The city has been called a she. Of course, it's not a she. Had a great wall with 12 gates. This 12, it seems like it's a very important number in the Bible. It's probably the beginning of some type of organization or something. 12 gates. 12 angels at each gate, and the names written on them, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates to the north, 3 gates to the south, and 3 gates to the west. Verse 21. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Imagine that, a gate being a pearl. You know, I see women wearing these pearly deals here, necklace. I guess they're made out of pearl. They're actually, those little beads are very small, you know, but they're worth a ton of money. This is a whole gate, 12 gates that were made out of pearls, and each individual gate was 1 pearl. 1 pearl. Wow. Fact 3. The New Jerusalem will have 12 foundations. We already mentioned that, but let's go to verse 19. 12 foundations, each named after one of Christ's apostles. Verse 19, the foundation of the wall of the city was adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper. I've never seen jasper. Have you? Has anybody ever seen this? I guess maybe some ladies in here might have seen. I don't know what jasper is, but I'll tell you, it must be something beautiful. The second, sapphire. The third, chalcedony. The fourth, emerald. The fifth, sardonyx. The sixth, sardius. The seventh, chrysolite. The eighth, beryl. The ninth, topaz. The 10th, crivois. The 11th, jacinth. And the 12th, amethyst. You know, Paul, the Apostle Paul, all this stuff just jives together. They just come. If you look at Revelation, we don't have time to turn there. Ephesians 2 and verse 20. Paul says that Christ's church is built on the foundations of the apostles and the prophets. And Christ himself here is the chief cornerstone. It just makes so much sense that it's really something beautiful to behold, just to imagine these things of all this nonsense going on out there. It's nice to look at something that's refreshing, something to look forward to, especially for young people. Fact 4, the New Jerusalem will be built as a cube. Let's notice verse 16 here. This city is laid out as a square. Now I said cube. This says square. Who's right? Joe's right. I'm right. I'll show you in a minute why I'm right. Its length is as great as the breadth. And he, the angel, measured the city with a reed, 12,000 furlongs. Its length, breadth, and height. When you add that height in there, it becomes a cube, doesn't it? Those of you that take math or do engineering and stuff, it's a cube. It's a cube. They're all equal. And this 12,000 furlongs, I did a little math in here. I love math. It's about 15,000 miles. Imagine that, a city, 15,000 miles. If you compare it to the United States, does anybody in here know what the distance is from north to south of the United States? Anybody?
1,500.
Only because I told you. No, I'm just kidding. That's my wife. From north to south in the United States, it's 1,300 miles. This thing is 1,500 miles. The city. And how wide is the United States? Anybody know? 3,000 miles, something around there. So it's going to be a little bit smaller than the entire nation of the United States. That's the New Jerusalem we're talking about. Imagine that. One city. So how big is this new earth going to be? How big is this new heavens going to be? If that city is that big, it's going to be a pretty good size, I would say. And so it's an amazing, beautiful, wonderful city. And even Christ said, if you take a look at John 14 in verse 2, he said this. We don't have time to turn there, but he says, in my Father's house, in his habitat, there are many mansions. Not one or two. Mansions, offices. I don't know what it is, but it's amazing. Fact 5. The streets of Jerusalem are going to be constructed of pure gold. They say we have a shortage of gold here right now. But here's the street of Jerusalem. It's going to be pure gold. And by the way, it doesn't say streets. It says street. What street? I don't know how that works. God knows. Verse 21, the last part. And the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. You know, coming up here on 75, coming up that road, the potholes and ruts. I think I might have lost control over the car a little bit, coming up, going 75 at 75 miles an hour. But this is pure gold, brethren. I mean, I don't know if you ever... This pure gold. It's fact 6. New Jerusalem will be a dynamic city. Dynamic. What do I mean by that? That means the gates of this city will be open night and day. As a matter of fact, there won't be any night at all, but they'll be open all the time. Verse 24. They'll be open all the time. It's a dynamic city. And the nations of those who are saved, see, that's us, and other people who are going to come along the way, the spirit beings, shall walk in its light. And the kings of the earth, aren't you and I supposed to be priests and kings? We sure are. That's what Revelation says. A nation of priests and kings of the earth bring their glory and honor into it. The only way you can bring glory and honor into a city is that you have to be a spirit being. When I walk into a city, do I bring my glory with it? No. You have to be a spirit being to bring this glory into the city. And then verse 25, its gates shall not be shut at all by day. There shall be no night there. How wonderful. How beautiful this is. I mean, when I was working on the sermon, it just kind of blew my mind on how tremendously huge, beautiful this city is. So in summary, even though we don't know everything about this New Jerusalem, we do know some things. But I think David, a man after God's own heart, says it real nice in Psalm. The book of Psalm in chapter 16, verse 11. This is David. This guy speaks from his heart. He just speaks. And look what it says here. And you will show me the path of life, to become spirit. Your presence is the fullness of joy, and at your right hand are the pleasures forevermore. This is the precise time that Jerusalem will be established. And at that time, there'll be no more crying, no more tears, no more pain, no more suffering. And the former things will all have passed away. What a wonderful glimpse of the New Jerusalem.